Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you are new. My name's Anne-Marie and today we are going to do my February wrap up. So, firstly I read The Demon's Headmaster. I wanted to read this book because I enjoyed the show when I was a kid and I've been in the mood for children's books lately. I didn't read this series when I was younger, so I thought, why not read them now? And my library has them, so I decided to get them at the library. So the first book is about the two boys, Harry and I don't remember his brother's name, and Dinah, who goes to live with them as like a foster placement. And they go to this school where the headmaster he hypnotises people, and Dinah seems to be a person that is susceptible to being hypnotised. The headmaster uses her to kind of like spy on the splat people members, and so the whole time I was reading the book, every time it said splat, I kept wanting to say spew, and I know that that's wrong because that's from Harry Potter. I enjoyed the story. It was fun when Dinah was trying to not be hypnotised by the head teacher, but it was weird that he would poke a child with a needle or a pin or something to see if she was actually hypnotised. I thought that was strange. I gave the book 3 stars. So I gave the book 3 stars overall because there were a few things in it that I was like, it was alright. The characters were okay. Because it's for because they're for children, it was a bit weird reading, like dumbed down for a child. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm probably going to eventually read the next ones. The second book that I read was Finlay, Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano, I think. I gave it 4 stars. So this book was about Finlay, whose husband had left her for a much younger woman, and he's threatened her to take her kids from her because apparently she's not a fit mum. She can't afford to look after her children and stuff. But one day Finlay goes to meet up with her publicist or her agent, something like that, and they're talking over the plot of this next book that Finlay's going to write because Finlay's an author. And when she's discussing this plot, the woman at the table next to him in the diner overhears and mistakes the fact that Finlay's actually an author for Finlay being a hit woman. So when the agent leaves, Finlay's sat at this table, and the woman next to her, she sneaks a piece of paper onto Finlay's table and also leaves. And when Finlay opens it, it says the name of the person that Finlay needs to kill or should kill, and the amount that the woman is willing to pay, and then a phone number. So Finlay calls this woman to try and figure out, what do you want me to do? And this woman is like, yeah, you need to kill him, and he's a bad man, and don't worry, you won't get in trouble for it if you're as good as you say you are. But Finlay's all the whole time is trying to tell her, I'm not a hit woman. You've got it wrong. Unfortunately, the guy actually does die, and Finlay and the children's nanny end up hiding the body of this dead evil man, and she gets the money and she starts paying off her bills, and she's able to keep her kids. And then they get another note with even more money and another even more evil man to kill. And Finlay has started at this time writing a book with outlining what she did, but she's changed the names and some of the events that happened, so she really buries the guy in her ex-husband field where he plants these like grass or something. But in this book that she's writing, she's buried him in a graveyard. After she killed the second guy kills himself, but she gets the money for it. After that, like, she gets another note, and in this note it's like, I'll pay you $100,000 to kill, and then it gives a name. I won't spoil it, but she knows this person. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. There were a few things that I didn't really enjoy, which is why I got 4 stars, not 5. But I am looking forward to reading the next one. When I picked up the first one, I didn't even know it was a series. So, 4 stars for Finlay Donovan is killing it. The next book I read, which was the 3rd book of the month, I read The Anarchist's Wife by Margo Laurie. This is a historical fiction book set in the 1920s about a woman whose husband got arrested and was sentenced to death. She tells the story from, like, the story starts off in like her present day, so like 1927 or something like that. And her son has asked her, so the woman's son has asked her to write down all the happy memories that she has of his dad, so that his little sister can read it when she's older and learn about all the happy times that they had, instead of reading about all the bad things that happened, and you know why he was arrested and sentenced to death. So she starts keeping like a journal, and in the journal she goes like right back to the beginning of when she first met her husband. I'm just going to call him Nick because he goes by one name and then changes it to Nick. So when Rose first met Nick, her dad was kind of okay with them being together, but then when it turned out that Nick was an anarchist and he didn't like going to church and stuff, her dad wasn't very happy about it. But the two got married, the two had a happy life. He had a stable job, and he made friends with all these other anarchists. They went round doing peaceful protests and stuff. At one day when he was off work, he'd gone to, they decided that they were going to go to Italy and live there because things were getting bad and people were being, like, immigrants were being sent back to their countries, and if they were sent back to the country that they were originally from, which for them was Italy, well, for Nick it was Italy, if they were sent back to Italy, they wouldn't be able to come back to the US and live, whereas if they went willingly, they'd be able to come back to the US. So he went off to get a passport for Rose, and on that same day 2 people were killed, and a couple of months later the police arrested Nick and Nick's friend for the murder, and Rose is adamant, and Nick was adamant, that he never actually committed the murder. So the whole story is based on a true crime. I think it's Sacco versus Vanzetti. I'll link the case in the description box. I kind of knew some of the things that were going to happen because I decided to Google it while I was reading the book. although I'm not a big fan of historical fiction or historical books in general, I enjoyed the story, and it got 3 stars just because mainly it was a historical book. It was a novella, so it was only short, and like some of the stuff was like weird because it's set in the 1920s in America, and I live in the UK, so things were different, and I don't really know a lot of stuff from the 1920s. That hasn't really been a part of history that I really care about that much when it comes to me looking at historical stuff. I'm more of a Tudors kind of person when it comes to history. But it was an arc given to me by the author to read for an honest review. If you want to see my review, I did post it on Goodreads. I did post it on my blog. Yeah, other than that, it was a good book, and I had a good time while reading it, but not something I would normally read, so didn't really get a high star rating from me. The 4th book I read is Howl's Moving Castle by Diane Wynne Jones. So this was a nice fun read. So this is about a girl who's named Sophie, whose dad dies, and her stepmom sends her 2 younger sisters off to different places. One goes to work in a bakery, the other one goes to live with a woman named Mrs. Fairfax, who teaches the girl, she helps her with her studies and that. And Sophie, the main character of the book, she is made to stay at the house with her stepmom and work in the family's hat shop, because once something happens to her stepmom, the shop is going to become Sophie's. The stepmom spends most of her time out of the house, campaigning, to bring people into the shop, and Sophie's left in the house making the hats, and she talks to the hats, and it's weird. And then one day, a woman comes into the shop and declares that she's the Witch of the Waste, which I thought was weird, because why would you have a Witch of the Waste? She declares she's the Witch of the Waste, and that she doesn't like the fact that Sophie is making these hats, and then she puts a curse on Sophie. Sophie becomes an old woman. She's like a 90-year-old woman, and she decides that she's just going to leave because there's no way she can stay at home. So she leaves, and she ends up going up the hill, finds herself at the Howl's castle, and tries to get in through one door but can't get in. She gets in through another door, and she becomes friends with the demon in the fire. I don't know his name, but I called him Cal through the whole book because I couldn't pronounce it. And then she just gets into the house and ends up staying there and causing trouble. Howl, the wizard. That's about it really. There's a lot more that happens, but I can't remember. I do plan on watching the movie sometime this week because it's on Netflix. I didn't know it was a series, but I did ask somebody and they said you don't have to read the others to watch the movie, so I'm not going to. I'm going to DNF the series after this book, because I didn't enjoy it that much. I didn't enjoy it enough to finish the series. The final book that I read in February was The Final Gambit, which is the final book in the Inheritance Game series by Jonathan Lynn Barnes. I enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed this series. I think I've given all of the books 4 stars. So in this book, it starts off at a couple of months after the second book, and we're coming up to Avery's 18th birthday and the 1 year of her having inherited Tobias Hawthorne's money. This book introduces a couple of new characters who I didn't like because they were mean and horrible characters. Other than these horrible characters, this story was really nice. So again, we have the four Hawthorne brothers, Nash, Grayson, Jameson and Xander, and Avery, who all set out on solving a new puzzle. In this one, we also meet Xander's father, and he tells Xander why he wasn't in his life, and it had nothing to do with the fact that he didn't want to be in his life. He actually did want to be in Xander's life. So that was sad for Xander. I felt for him. And then the end of the book, it was lovely. We ended up with Avery and Jameson were together. They were my couple from the start. They end up together, and Avery decides that she is giving away 94% of the money that she currently has, well, that she inherited, and all the money has to be gone in 5 years. It was a good read. It only took me like 3 days to read it. I joined a bunch of sprints just so I could get it done for February. 4 stars, worth it, and I recommend this series to anybody who likes a mystery. But be prepared to, if you're one who cries at books, be prepared to cry at the book. I do like the fact that Avery bested the villain in this book, though. That was a fun time. So that's all I have for this video. If you have read any of these books and you want to let me know what you thought of them, let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more from me, hit subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.